Hello and welcome back to another episode where we are playing Foundation in the village of Bosco Verde. I've perched us here looking over one of the new stone cutting camps that we built out last episode. This is all part of my grand plan to try and fix this city, which is what we were doing last time. If we take a little check-in with our vitals to see how they're doing, we can see that our population has dropped to 961, which may sound like a bad thing, but is something I'm very happy about. And that's because we are still working on the third objective we had last episode, which is to stockpile food so that when we do increase our population, it doesn't result in an exodus because they can't get their hands on enough refined and rustic food. We're currently looking at a happiness percentage of 86%, which is very high, but the two needs which are lowering it a bit are still refined food and rustic food. They are down to just 1 or 2%. Previously we were seeing that around 5, 6, 7, maybe even 8%. So I'm happy with the direction it's moving. Literally, as I've been talking, the money situation, at least in terms of total amount of money, seems to have improved. But our trend is still looking at minus 250. Trade is at minus 62. I would really like to get that into the positive. It will be a bit easier to get that into the positive once we're able to export our polished stone, which we're making here. At the moment, I'm stockpiling it so we can upgrade the middle trade route, which, as you can see here, is going to require 900 pieces of polished stone. So to speed us up a bit, I went through and I unemployed some people who were working as transporters. It looks like I unemployed 4 people, and I'm going to go ahead and add them to these stonecutter camps because not all of them are totally filled up with workers. So we can add a couple here. And in fact, I'm going to add a third one here as well. And I'm going to come and employ a couple of stonemasons over here as well. And it looks like we have hit 900 with our polished stone, so let's go ahead and upgrade that middle trade route. We are now doing really pretty well at stockpiling fish and meat, so that is improving a lot. Even our cheese seems to be improving a bit. Bread, still not quite there. And it looks like some of our butchers where we're producing this meat are actually getting full, so I've just built a little extension onto this granary, which I'm waiting to be built. And then I should be able to store some more meat in here. And that's now been built out, so I'll go ahead and store lots of meat here. Looks like we now have 900 in storage, so we can go ahead and invest in this middle trade route. So I'm going to do that. That takes our polished stone all the way back down to 2. So one thing we can do to help with stockpiling bread and cheese so that we'll one day be able to welcome in more villagers is to build more dairy fields, which will increase the amount of milk we have available to us. And also to build potentially some more wheat fields as well. And it looks like we've just succeeded in improving trade with middle. So now we're up to level 8 with them, it seems. Which means that will increase the amount we're allowed to trade with them, which is helpful to us. And now that we're importing all this wheat, we could probably stand to build a few more windmills as well. Which means we'll have more people turning that wheat into flour and then turning it into bread. So I'll come down here, get my windmill, which, as you can see, produces 1 flour in exchange for 4 wheat. So it takes a lot of wheat to produce just a little bit of flour. And I quite like the idea of having one up on this hill. I feel like it does make sense for a windmill to be on a hill. So I'll go ahead and build one there. I will also begin to export a little bit more of our polished stone to make some money. So we were leaving it at 900 in order to be able to improve that trade route, but let's bring this down to everything over maybe just 100. We don't need a lot of it ourselves for our building projects at the moment. We can always increase this if we decide we do want to stockpile a bit more, but for now I think the money would be useful. So our nice windmill has been built. Although, to be honest, our amount of wheat has gone back down to 0. I guess the other windmills were able to just absorb that and turn into flour. But God, these flour figures stay really low, which is troubling. So while we've got a little bit of money in the bank, I'm going to buy a couple of territories to hopefully build out our dairy farms. I've gone for these 2 over here because there won't be any deforestation required in the first instance. I do actually realise I've got a lumberjack who's still hanging around over here, which is probably not necessary. We may as well move him to somewhere we actually want some deforestation to occur. like somewhere over here would be good. And now I will go ahead and build some extra dairy farms in the spaces that we've created over here. We've got to make sure that those dairy farmers are going to have a place to live, so I'm going to give them a little bit of space to build some houses just down here. And I think I'm going to build the first dairy farm just in this spot here. And I'm going to build another dairy farm just in a spot over here. So I think some of the changes we've been making are starting to work. As you can see, our coin balance is looking better. Last month we actually made money, which shouldn't be something so notable, but it is. We've not made money for I can't remember how long. Unfortunately, I can't really seem to scroll back through the other months, but it would be interesting to see a little chart of how up and down our budget has been. But this seems like a good sign to me that what we are doing is kind of working. I'm not sure if my cooperage is sort of bugged out or something, but they seem to be waiting for work, even though there is work for them to do, like they're not producing the barrels, so I might just try deleting it and replacing it and see if that works. Or maybe even I could just try moving this building for now. I'll move it here and see if when they build it here, if it decides it can work. Our construction requirement's not met. This one actually needs to be in a light fortification area, which is, now I understand why I built it there. But we could also build it here in the town walls, inside the city walls, so let's go ahead and try that as well. He still appears to be waiting for work. I'm not entirely sure why that is. That's here at the cooperage. They are probably not happy with the amount of sort of tools and planks they've got, but I don't really understand why they're not bringing tools and planks over. There's tools just here. I think I'm also going to go ahead and delete this monastic scriptorium because we have 800 manuscripts now and we very rarely use them for anything. I can always build back a small one if we need to, but it will reduce, well, the upkeep just a tiny bit on this. And it means we could probably expel these brothers and sisters as well. So as I said, I think I'm going to go ahead and delete this monastic scriptorium for now. Doesn't seem to be necessary. So I might just import a few barrels if I can to keep us going for the moment while the cooperage kind of sorts itself out. Looks like I can import them, which is good, and probably don't need 50, but I could just import maybe 20. And see if that will get our winery going again. Well, it looks like our cooperage have made 1 barrel, which is good news. So maybe it's not totally bugged out, which is nice. And from deleting those bits of the monastery, I've freed up a few villagers. So we now have 7 unemployed. And that is who I'm going to go and bring to work at these dairy farms. Looks like those villagers actually, for some reason, can't be employed here. I assume they were just the people I expelled from the monastery kind of slowly leaving, so I am going to come and accept a few more people over here instead, and they will become our dairy farmers. So now there are a few people we can employ as dairy farmers. We still need a couple more to fill up this dairy farm. And I can begin to draw out this pasture. Looks like that is adequately sized, so I'll leave that there. Got a few more people we can collect up. Someone actually wants our manuscripts, but they only want 40 of them. And we're going to get 160 tools for it, so yeah, why not? So now we've filled this dairy farm up with people, let's go ahead and draw out their field as well. There we go, happy with that. I would like to build another dairy farm over in this area where we're going to have space to expand as well. And now this dairy farm has also been built out, so let's go ahead and give him some workers and paint out this pasture. There we go, happy with how that is looking. So I was just having a look online, and it seems like most people are pretty much in agreement that field size doesn't matter too much. So I'm going to keep building out the fields just to the minimum of the adequate size. There we go, and I'll leave this episode here looking over our brand new dairy fields that we've built out. Our money situation, as you can see from the budget, is still a little bit precarious. We're definitely still working towards stability. We've gone up from around 960 to 980 population this episode, so that's an additional 20 people. And unfortunately our stockpiles of fish have gone down a bit, which is contributing to a bit of a rustic food shortage. There is also a small bit of a refined food shortage and a couple of small issues with goods and monastic food as well. But it looks like we will be continuing to work on stabilising the city for another episode or two before we can return to our castle. So hopefully you're happy coming along on the journey with me towards stabilising this city of Bosco Verde. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.